Hello, it's Dawn Michelle from Boho Tarot, and today I thought it'd be fun just to do a little peek at the decks that I'm planning on modifying. So these are decks that you will probably see pop up on my channel, and I thought it'd be fun to just kind of go through them for a minute and just kind of take a look at what I'm planning on modifying, and more importantly, why I'm planning on modifying it. And this is just to help me kind of figure out where I'm at with my planned projects, as well as just to kind of give you guys a little look at what I've got in store. So I thought that would be fun. I have a whole basket. This is my mod basket, and as you can see, it's starting to overflow. So I really need to start getting onto these projects. I do have this one deck set aside. This was a deck that I picked up. I think I might have shown it before on my channel, but I picked it up at a vintage sale for like $5, and it's a little bit worn, and you know, the cards are a little bit worn and used, so I'm just gonna trim it down, and I'm not even gonna take them all out because you can see the card here. I'm basically gonna trim the white border off. Anyway, if I need the titles, I might just write them in some gold marker. I haven't really decided 100% yet what I need to do with this, but it definitely needs a little bit of love and care because it's pretty well worn, just, you know, around the edges, which is, you know, why they say they put borders on cards in the first place, right? Is to keep that from interfering with the artwork itself. But you know me, I don't like borders, so I'm gonna chop them off. I'm gonna kind of give it new life and you know, probably edge it and all of that. So I have this one set out, but I haven't pulled it out of its big box. Because it's just one that I need to get to. So I'm going to move that one out of the way so we can kind of start going through this big basket here, because I thought it just might be fun to look at some projects. So this is the Mystical Tarot, and you'll see a lot of these are actually still in their boxes. So this deck it's still in order, but I absolutely love the images. But I gotta tell you, like, as pretty as the borders really are, they're kind of distracting to me, and this particular deck was not cut really terribly well, so there's a lot of white that shows through on the borders on both sides, and some on the top and bottom as well. Now I could just edge it and it would cover that up, but I really just don't think I need the borders, and I think that this is one of those decks that the artwork will just be free and big and bold and vibrant. I mean, even more so than it already is once those borders are gone. So that is a deck that I intend to just take the borders off of, but that's definitely a project that is on my list because I do want to get to work with this deck. But those borders just kind of, I don't know, they kind of keep me from working with it. As much as I love the weird artwork, it's just one that I'm just not working with right now because I think those borders are just a bit distracting to me, and I just feel like it's gonna really just open this deck up to trim it. So this is a deck that I've shown in one of my first attempts at a wrap, which was just sad. Didn't work out for me. I think I showed this in one of my mod videos. This was a deck this is the Sun and Moon Tarot, and it's a deck that I started to mod, and I wrote the numbers at the top underneath all of the elemental symbols, and then I decided I wanted to keep the titles at the bottom. So my original thought was I was just going to take it down to the artwork because I wanted to cut the keywords off the top, and I originally thought I wanted to cut the titles off the bottom and just keep the elemental symbols with the number, and then I decided I really actually liked the titles on the bottom. So what I'm planning on doing with this one is now trimming it down and cutting the top off, including the elemental symbol, which, you know, is fine because it's all the same per suit anyway, and I know what they are, so I don't really need that on there. But so that's why this one's in here, because I just need to finish it. It was kind of like I started it and went, oops, I wish I hadn't have written on it. And the blue, you can't, like, it faded and you can't even see the number anyway. So this was one of those mod attempts that just didn't quite work out the way I was hoping for to start with. And so I really just need to go back and fix it because I think it's a really cute deck and I like it, and I would probably use it more once I got those little issues taken care of, that, you know, the little disaster that I made. Need to fix that. So that's the Sun and Moon Tarot. So this one is the Tarot of a Moon Garden. And I completely love the little images in this, but the borders on this deck I find are really distracting. And some of the printing is a little bit blurry, and that kind of bugs me too, but the artwork is just so cool that I really like it. It kind of reminds me of childhood. It's got a little bit of like a rainbow bright type of thing going on here. Kind of a last unicorn, that kind of thing, which I really, really quite like. It does make me think of my childhood, and I want to try to take it down. I want to take the borders off, and I want to try to take it down just to the artwork. It's going to make for a teeny tiny little deck, and it may totally ruin it, but you know what? I'm not using it as it is. So I might as well give it a shot and see if I can, you know, make that work out for me so that it's a deck that I will hopefully use. Because I really do adore the artwork. Oh, there's the backs of them. So that is the Tarot of a Moon Garden. Again, another deck that I want to trim. So the next deck is the Tarot of the Secret Forest, and this is a deck that I believe I have like a full actual deck review on this deck on my channel. I absolutely adore this deck. I love the black and white images on the back. So if you haven't seen it, it has black and white images on the back, and there's like, I have like, again, in my review I talk about how I use this deck because I use this deck in a very specific way. I totally read with it intuitively. I completely ignore the symbols. So this is a deck that I want to take the borders off because, and the symbols and the titles and everything, because that to me, it actually is kind of distracting because of the way I work with this deck, which is completely intuitively. So I want to take those off so that I'm no longer distracted by those, and I think it'll just work out beautifully, and I think it's going to be wonderful. It's a little bit like, because I took all the time to edge it in black, and I did use this deck for a really long time, just as it is with the titles, but I think I'm at the point where I'm ready to just let the titles go and fully move into the intuitive work that I do with this deck, because it's absolutely fabulous for that, and it's one of my favorite intuitive decks to use. But it just, sometimes those titles at the top and the symbols just kind of draw me away from my intuitive readings with it. So the next deck that I actually, it's not really a mod so much. This is the Coffee Tarot deck. And I got the Grande edition, and I didn't realize that I did buy the Grande edition. Because this card, they're too big. They're too big for me to handle. But the artwork is really, really cute. In this deck, I particularly like the majors. So I actually am thinking of what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim it down as much as I possibly can. I'm going to take off some of the excess on it. For sure, take off the white border, but I may cut into it even more than that. And I'm going to turn it into a majors only deck. And then I might take the minors and make them an oracle of themselves. So take the titles off of them and make them an oracle deck in their own way, and take out the quartz, because I'm really not fond of the quartz in this deck. That's one of the reasons why I don't think I use it, because the quartz just really don't work for me. But the illustrations are really, really cute. So I think what I'm going to do is divide it up, make a majors only deck with the majors, and then make an oracle with the minors, probably minus those court cards. So again, that's another project I'm going to undertake, because you know what, if a deck doesn't work for me, I either need to modify it so that it does, or I need to move it on to somebody else who can use it as it is. I do really like the images in this deck for the most part, so I did want to keep it, so I'm just going to modify it a little bit to make it work for me. Okay, the next deck we have is the Anima Mundi, and honestly, I've gone back and forth about this deck. It's absolutely gorgeous. I love the artwork, and I really, really love the pippishness of the pip style court, or I can't talk today. The pip style minors I think are really wonderful. But for me, it's a tactile experience. It has that shiny gold. The edges on this one came a little bit like chewed up. I don't know if you can see it, if it'll catch up on camera, but the sides, the gilding is already chewed up. And this deck has only been used a handful of times. I used it once or twice to do a reading. I passed it on to my daughter. She used it like once, maybe twice as well. She couldn't read with it because it's more of a pip style deck, and she's just not there in her practice at this point. But I really do like the artwork, but it's really that tactile experience, that sharp edges. It's not a deck that I want to hold. It's not a deck that I want to use. So I think I'm gonna, like I did with my Guardian Angel Tarot, I think I'm gonna take the gold edges off this one and just take it down to that artwork, because it is a pip style deck, so I don't think I need the numbers. I think the majors all have the number within the artwork, so that's really, really wonderful, because I can take it down to just the artwork and I can know which card is which. And I think as far as the quartz, if I could get to them, I think I can fairly well figure the quartz out. I may make myself a little visual cheat sheet. I mean, I can definitely tell that the quartz, I think, they're predominantly the animal, so with the little symbol over, you know, just a little symbol on there. So I think I'll be able to tell really well at least which one it is, and then maybe just make some sort of notation on the deck or make a cheat sheet so I can tell which quartz are which. But I think that once I do that, I think this deck will work better for me, because I'm just not using it. It's hurting my hands just holding it now. And it's just not one that I want to use, because I just really don't want to hold it. I don't want to touch it. And I don't often say that about a deck, but that is the case for this deck. So I've actually tried to trade it a couple times, and it just really doesn't seem to want to leave my collection. So I'm going to hang on to it, and I'm going to mod it so that it hopefully will work for me. And hopefully I don't totally ruin the deck, right? This is a deck, Tarot of the She is another deck that I have a full review, complete review of this deck on my channel. I absolutely adore this deck. It's one of my favorites, but it's big and bulky and hard for me to work with, and I really do want to take it down, I think, to just the artwork. The reason this is still sitting in my basket and I haven't actually done it yet is because I haven't 100% decided whether I want to leave. You know, I've seen all kinds of variations on this deck. If I can just pull one card here, where people have just taken the sides and left the black top and bottoms. I might start with that and see how I like that. And, you know, then maybe taking off either the keyword or the title above, whichever I've decided that I might want to do. But that's just kind of where I'm at. I'm like in a holding pattern with this deck, because I just haven't 100% decided what I want to do with it. I think I'll probably just start with the sides and work with just the sides gone for a while and see if that little bit makes the difference, and if I'm okay with leaving the titles on the top and bottom. So that's kind of my plan for this one. But as you can see, it's kind of big, bulky, and sticky. Although I do find that with these shifter decks, these really glossy, sticky ones, the more you use them, the kind of less sticky that they seem to get. Like my Star Tarot, it's not near as sticky as it used to be, because I've handled it so much that it kind of wears it down. So just note on that one. So this one is one of my, I think this was the third deck I ever purchased. This is the Steampunk Tarot. I think I put it back in order because I was doing some work with it. I adore this deck, and I've had it for years and years and years. The edges are starting to get pretty worn on it. Not as worn as my Legacy of the Divine, which was my first tarot deck, which I don't ever use anymore because it doesn't really resonate with me, but it was the first deck I ever purchased, and I did do a lot of work with it because it was the only deck I had for a really long time. But anyway, I really do love this deck. I'm considering rebacking it because the backs are not my favorite. And it's got, like you can see, it's got quite a bow in it from me shuffling it. But I definitely want to blacken the edges. But I think with this deck, I think I might just take it down to the artwork too. For one, I think it would look beautiful like that. And two, it is a very Rider-Waite-Smith style deck, so I think I'll be able to read with it really well. But even if it wasn't, I know these cards so well, like I would be able to read with it without, even if it wasn't, because I've used this deck so much over the years that I really do just know what all the cards are. So my plan is to probably trim the titles off this one, take it completely down to the artwork, and then possibly reback it, because I've never loved these backs, but you know, I didn't mod decks back then. I didn't even know that was a thing. So anyway, I love the bag for it. It's one of my favorite bags. So moving on, like we're getting down there. I hope this video isn't forever long. This is the Tarot de Ozarks, which I love this deck. I love the artwork. It's just, oh, it's so amazing. Just an amazing deck. But I do not like this. I don't like this Christmas card backing. And this one is in my mod box because I really am thinking about rebacking it, but I don't want to, it's going to make it thicker, and it's already a fairly thick deck, so that's why it's still in here and I haven't done it yet, is because I'm still kind of on the fence with this one about whether or not I actually want to do it. Love this card. How beautiful is that? Yeah, so it's in here. I do pull decks out of this box and I read with them. I use them. They're still available to me. They're just kind of in their own little section so that when I do have some time and I feel inclined to do a mod, I can just go to my box and see what do I feel like working on today. This is my, oh, what is this? Guys, this is my Supra Oracle. Anyway, it's a gorgeous deck. I love working with this deck. It's a very airy mind type of deck, which I absolutely love. But it has these absolutely gorgeous backs. And I found a stamp, I think it's a Brilliant stamp, that has this kind of black, it's a black stamp with gold flecking in it. And I thought, oh, that would just be perfect for this. So I want to edge this deck in that because it'll match the backs. And again, it's just one that I just haven't done yet, but think it's going to look amazing. So I'm really looking forward to doing that one. Let's see what next. We have the Paulina, which is a deck that I absolutely love. And this one is in here because I am considering trimming it. I've seen it trimmed and I absolutely love it trimmed. My concern and why I haven't done it yet is will I be able to recognize all of the cards? Because I really don't want to write on them. And I don't really read this deck very intuitively. I do kind of read it as it's intended, so yeah, that's why it's in here, because I'm still on the fence about that one. And, you know, as you can see, there's a couple in here that I'm on the fence about. So this is what is this? I keep forgetting. Oh, the Vision Quest Tarot. And this is a deck that the white and the copyright on the back really kind of bugs me. There's quite a bit of white space on the front, which I really don't mind. But I'm just want to trim it down, I think. I don't know. You guys, I just don't know. This is another deck that I'm like unsure of. This one, the Tarot de Ozarks and the Paulina have been sitting in this basket for a really long time because I'm just not sure. And my hesitation with this deck, which I absolutely love the artwork on it, is not really anything to do with, you know, borders or anything like that. My hesitation with this deck is it is an AGM deck, and in general, I love the way AGM decks shuffle. I think they have the best card stock. But I did trim my my Cosmic Tarot, I think is another AGM deck, and it still shuffles beautifully. So I'm hoping that when I shuffle this one, or when I trim this one, it'll still shuffle beautifully. But I wouldn't mind it being a little bit smaller. So I think I'm just going to take the borders off, get rid of that white and the copyright, and I think that'll just make it look really nice. And then hopefully it'll be a better size for me. I mean, this is standard tarot size, and that works just fine for me, but I always like a little bit smaller deck for the most part when I'm using a deck for just general readings. So that's my plan with this one. I've just been a little bit hesitant because I still want it to shuffle as beautifully as it does now, because I think AGM decks, like, in my opinion, they're up there with like Baba Studio decks in terms of their shuffleability. Shuffleability, is that a word? In terms of the way they shuffle, I think it's just absolutely gorgeous. So this is my Tarot of the Trees, which is one of my favorite decks. This one tends to go camping with us a lot. The kids love to take this deck, and by kids, I mean teenagers and really like grown children. Is that a thing? Grown children? They love to take this deck and they love to do readings with it. So I always try to keep it with me when we go camping. I do hear that there's going to be another edition that's maybe going to be a little bit bigger with some different cardstock, which would be really nice because this is pretty glossy. The edges are getting really chewed up. And I wouldn't mind it being a little bit bigger just because I think the artwork is absolutely beautiful. But this one is in my my mod basket because I just want to edge it. I just want to do probably some black edging on it because it's starting to get a little worn, and that just kind of refreshes it a little bit and gives it new life. But this is just one of my favorite decks. I use it quite often, and like I said, it always goes camping with us because the kids always ask for this deck. It's their favorite one to like go and take and do readings for each other. So that one is definitely a favorite. We're down to the last 3, you guys. Hopefully this isn't super long. I want to show you, this is my very first attempt at making a bag years ago. And it's totally ridiculous and wonky and hand sewn, completely hand sewn because I didn't have a sewing machine back then. Anyway, this is my Crystal Visions Tarot, and I think I showed this one on my on one of my mod videos too. And this is the first deck that I like full on modded, like trimmed. I think this is the first deck I trimmed. I'm gonna try to get closer. Hopefully you can see. I also painted it, and then what I did, which you probably can't see because I then sprayed it with clear coat, which works really well, and it's not very sticky, but it did end up giving like a texture to the cards, and it kind of, in certain lights, you cannot see I have painted with metallic paints over quite a few different areas of this card. Maybe it'll pick up then, like the wheel has been painted with a metallic purple. I mean, you guys, I spent months doing this. And it's been completely like, it's all shimmery now. I don't know if it'll catch in the light because the clear coat that I sprayed over the top of it kind of took that away, took the shininess away a little bit. But before I put the spray coat on it, maybe you can kind of see it, all of the reeds are shiny, her hair is shiny, the lilies are all edged in shimmery paint. Like, this is actually metallic paint that I went in with a teeny tiny paintbrush and actually accented all of the cards. Some of them you can see, like, I got way too much spray on that one. I definitely don't recommend that as an option. Again, this was a long time ago, and it was before I discovered clear contact paper. Another issue with this deck was that I had just a cheap corner rounder, and it ate a lot of my corners, and they look pretty bad up close. So this is in my box because I just need to fix it. I edged it in this like metallic, and I think a metallic purple Sharpie, which really didn't do anything other than kind of bleed over. So I think of this one, I'm just going to take it down a little bit, make it a little bit smaller, and just clean up those edges, clean up the corners. And there's really not much I could do about, you know, that clear coat gunk up there that you see there. I just can't do anything about it. But I really do love this deck, and I spent so much time adding that shimmer to it, overlaying it with the metallic paint. I'm not even sure if it's picking up on camera or not, but I mean, it's a deck I love, and I would love to work with it more, but I just need to clean it up is really all that it is. Need to clean it up so I can, you know, get it back into my rotation again, because I really do love it. We're getting down to the end. Okay, so this is the new Paladini Tarot, and there will be a video on this deck at some point, because I have filmed this process, but this deck has been a nightmare, to be perfectly honest. I trimmed, retrimmed, and trimmed again, trying to get it all straight. I wanted it just down to the artwork, which is great, and I finally got that after multiple trimming sessions. Not so fond of the quartz now that I've done that, but you know, I do really like, what I like about this deck is I like the black background in a lot of the cards. And then I went and looked at the back and went, oh, that looks terrible. Like, look what I did. They're all just cut off weird. So then I'm like, okay, so now I need to reback it. So I got some like black marbly looking contact paper to finish rebacking it. So this is a project that you will be seeing at some point. When I actually get it finished, I think I have video of this whole process, as lengthy and frustrating as it was. So once I get it rebacked, we'll take a look at the whole process. But this has been a deck that's one of those, like I think I mentioned my Wisdom Seekers Tarot that about killed me, that I about said, yeah, I'm done modding decks. This is one of those. So after I got it cut down and trimmed into squares, it was just like, yeah, that's it. That needs to just set aside for a while because I just can't look at it anymore because I'm mad at it. This is my Tarot de Marseille, and this is the Mary Packard version, and it's still in the plastic, and I got this. I got it for like, I want to say like $6 on sale or something like that. It's not, I don't even want to open it right now. I do love the backs, but my intention with this deck is to scrapbook over the top of it like I have done with my Akashic Tarot. So this one I got specifically to do that with a Marseille style deck, and I found it cheap. It was on sale. It actually came with a great book, which I have on my shelf and I really enjoy. But yeah, if I could get it back in there. But that's why I bought this one, is to do scrapping. I like that it's big because I can get a lot of layers on there, and you know, kind of gonna do a Marseille style scrapped book deck. So that's why this one is in here. And that takes us through to the end. So there you go, guys. That is all of the decks that at this point, as of this time, it will always change. I will probably add. Sometimes I take away, sometimes I add more. That is the decks that I am planning on modifying and what I am planning to do to them. And there are, as you can see, there's a lot of them. So I have, you know, I have my work cut out for me. As always, I will probably, you know, do some video recordings when I do these so that you guys can see them, you know, some mod with me type of things. But yeah, it's just like, it's starting to overflow. So it's, I need to get going on these projects, right? Need to get started. So I can't even fit them all back in the bag. So there you have it. All of the decks that I am planning on modifying and what I'm planning to do with them. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you again soon for more creative tarot for an inspired life.